So the question is that in what circumstances a rent can be deposited in court under the UP Urban Buildings Regulation of Letting, Rent and Eviction Act 1972. Means we have to enumerate the conditions under which a tenant has to deposit the rent in court. So it is quite obvious, as we see in our daily life also, that when the landlord does not accept it, or for the tenant it is not clear that who is the landlord, or is there any dispute about the amount of the rent, then these are the some general conditions in which it becomes quite obvious that a responsible tenant must deposit his rent to some forum, so that it is uh, in future it is a good proof for him that he has deposited rent. So in this UP Urban Buildings Regulations on Letting, Rent and Eviction Act 1972, there is section 30 which deals with such provisions. So provisions regarding the deposit of rent under section 30 of the act are as follows. First of all, the subsection 1 of section 30 says that the person claiming to be a tenant of a building to deposit the rent in court in respect of the buildings if the following conditions are satisfied. Means subsection says that enumerates the conditions on which a tenant which says that I am a tenant of a certain building, he should deposit the rent. So what is the condition? It said that if any person claiming to be a tenant of a building tenders any amount as rent in respect of the building to its alleged landlord, and the alleged landlord refuses to accept the same. Simple. Means if suppose I'm a tenant and I'm offering to my landlord the rent, and the landlord does not accept the rent, means he refuses to receive it, then obviously I have to deposit it somewhere. So in this condition is enumerated in subsection 1. Subsection 1 says that if landlord refuses to accept the rent, then the tenant can deposit his rent to court. Okay. Subsection 2 of section 30 says that for any bona fide doubt, means if a tenant is in any bona fide doubt that who is the landlord, who is the real landlord, and who is entitled to receive the rent, then he can deposit it to the court. Means the literal wording is subsection 2 of the section 30 of the act provides for the deposit of the tenant where any bona fide doubt or dispute has arisen. Dispute is also there. Dispute has arisen as to the person who is entitled to receive any rent in respect of any building. Okay. So part 2 conditions. First one, if the landlord refuses to accept the rent. Second one, tenant under bona fide belief is in doubt or is in dispute about the rent to whom he has deposit. Now it comes the subsection 3. This provides that upon the in subsection 1 and subsection 2, if a tenant has to deposit his rent, then where he will deposit. So it says that in the court of Munsif having jurisdiction, means the Munsif magistrate having jurisdiction in that local area is entitled to receive the rent. In the court of the Munsif magistrate, the rent can be deposited. See, subsection 3 of the section 30 of the act provides the forum to deposit the rent under subsections 1 or 2 in the court of Munsif having jurisdiction. Okay. Now comes the subsection 4 of section 30. This is a bit simple. It says that on any deposit being made under subsection 1, the court shall cause a notice of the deposit to be served on the alleged landlord, and the amount of deposit may be withdrawn by that person on application made by him to the court in that behalf. Means subsection 4 says that if upon if as per the subsection 1 of section 30 a tenant has deposited rent in the court, then the court will serve a notice to that alleged landlord, and then that alleged landlord can withdraw that money from the court upon filing a due application. Okay, now subsection 5 of the section 30 says that where a tenant deposits a rent under subsection 2, subsection 4 deals about the subsection 1, and this subsection 5 deals about the subsection 2, that in case of doubt or dispute, if a tenant deposits a rent under subsection 2, then there is no power of withdrawal under this provision till the decision of the competent court, or there is a settlement between the parties, and thereafter the rent shall be payable to such person. Means if under subsection 2 a tenant has deposited rent in the court on the ground that it is a case of doubt as to who's the real receiver of the rent, or he is in dispute with the landlord, then in this condition the alleged landlord is not allowed to withdraw that amount till the competent court decides the matter finally. And if the if till the decision of the competent court, or till the settlement between the parties arrives, so thereafter the rent shall be payable to such person. Okay, now in respect of this deposit made as aforesaid, it shall be deemed that the person depositing it has paid it. In respect of a deposit made as aforesaid, it shall be deemed that the person depositing it has paid it on the date on such deposit to the person in whose favor it is deposited in the case referred in subsection 1, or to landlord in the case referred to subsection 2. Means it is simple section, and subsection says that if a tenant has deposited in court, then it will be considered that he has deposited the rent to the landlord. On which date? The date on which he deposits it to the court. So in this way, we got a brief idea about under what circumstances a tenant has to deposit rent in court. This rule is related with the UP Urban Buildings Regulation of Letting Rent and Eviction Act 1972, and in that act it is in section 30. So in section 30, now we have a quick revision. Under section 30 it says, subsection 1 says that if landlord refuses to accept the same. Subsection 2 says that any bona fide doubt or dispute as to who is entitled to receive the rent. Subsection 3 says that under subsection 1 and subsection 2, the court of Munsif having the jurisdiction will be the competent one to receive the deposition. Subsection 4 says that a notice of the deposit to be served to the alleged landlord, and he can withdraw that amount by filing an application. Notice, who will serve notice? The court will cause to serve the notice. Okay. Subsection 5 says that where the tenant deposits under subsection 2. Okay. Subsection 2 means in case of doubt, then he will not have any power to withdraw. Con that landlord will not have any power to withdraw the deposited rent till the matter completely gets resolved, or any settlement arrives between them two. And subsection 6 says that if the deposition will be considered as a rent deposited to landlord, and the date will be considered on the date which the rent is deposited to the court. So that's it.